"You're my husband," he said with a certainty that made the walls of the hospital room feel smaller, tighter, like they were closing in. I wanted to laugh, but the truth was crueler because if what he said was real, then my mind had betrayed me in the most vicious way. The machines beeped rhythmically beside me, cold and indifferent to the storm twisting in my chest. I searched his face, those sharp eyes softened by pain, the hand hovering just close enough to touch but trembling like it feared rejection. His voice cracked when he repeated it, slower this time, almost pleading. "My husband. You're my husband." I swallowed hard, my throat a desert. My memories were blank pages, and in every corner where he should have been wedding vows, late-night laughter, arguments over laundry, kisses too passionate for the morning light, there was nothing but silence. "Who are you?" I whispered. His expression shattered. The accident had left me with fragments of who I used to be, shards of a man that didn't seem to fit anymore. My parents told me I had been married for 2 years, living in New York with the man now sitting at my bedside. They called him Daniel. Daniel. The name felt foreign on my tongue, like trying to pronounce a word I'd only read in books but never spoken aloud. Yet when I looked at him, something inside me ached with a strange familiarity, like the faint echo of a song I once knew by heart. He stayed every night at the hospital. He brought me coffee in the mornings even though I told him I didn't drink it anymore. He smiled when I scowled at the bitter taste and muttered, "You used to steal mine all the time." He spoke in pieces, little fragments of a life I couldn't remember. Picnic in Central Park. A fight over Christmas lights tangled on the floor. The way I would hum under my breath when I cooked. But the more he shared, the more suffocating it felt. Because I didn't know this man. Because love wasn't supposed to feel like pressure. And yet sometimes, when his hand brushed mine, my skin burned with recognition. Weeks later, when I was discharged, Daniel insisted on taking me home. "It's your home too," he said softly, loading my bag into the trunk. The apartment in Brooklyn looked lived in but unfamiliar. Photos lined the shelves. 2 men smiling at the beach, arms wrapped around each other, eyes lit with a joy so bright it hurt to look at. A picture of me kissing his cheek, his grin wide and shameless. A Polaroid stuck on the fridge of us tangled in Christmas lights, both laughing. I stared at them like I was staring at strangers. "Do you want me to sleep on the couch?" he asked that night, his voice small, like he was afraid of breaking me again. I nodded. I lay awake for hours, the silence pressing heavy. Every so often, I could hear him shift on the couch, restless. And in the stillness of the night, I caught myself wondering how much did it hurt to love someone who looked at you like a stranger? The days blurred together. Daniel tried. God, he tried so hard. He cooked my favorite meals even when I didn't like them anymore. He played my playlist 7 though the songs felt like they belonged to someone else. He talked to me gently, like I was glass. But sometimes his frustration slipped through the cracks. "You loved this movie," he muttered once when I turned away from the screen. "I don't remember." I shot back, harsher than I meant to. "Then remember." His voice broke, desperate, before he caught himself and whispered an apology into the quiet. We lived in a fragile balance of hope and grief, of him trying to pull me back and me resisting because I didn't know who to be for him. And yet there were moments. One rainy afternoon, I found myself humming in the kitchen without thinking. I froze when I noticed Daniel standing at the doorway, eyes wide, tears gathering. "You used to do that," he whispered. I didn't answer, but my chest ached in ways I couldn't explain. The breaking point came one night after an argument. I had snapped, told him to stop pretending like we could go back to what we were. He stood there, shaking, his fists clenched at his sides. "You think I'm pretending?" he said, his voice raw. "You think this is easy for me? Every day I wake up praying you'll look at me and remember even just one thing. But you don't. And I still choose to stay. Because I love you. Because I meant every vow I made to you." He stepped closer, his breath uneven. "And even if you never remember me, I will love you anyway." The words pierced something inside me. I hated him for it, for making me feel the weight of a love I couldn't return. But I also wanted to hold him, to apologize, to believe that somewhere buried in the ruins of my memory, I had once loved him too. That night, I dreamed of his laughter. It was faint, fleeting, but when I woke, I found tears on my pillow. Spring came and with it a quiet shift. We weren't husband and husband anymore, not really. We were two men learning each other again, starting over on fragile ground. He stopped pressuring me to remember. Instead, he asked me out for coffee, like it was a first date. He made me laugh with stories from work. He told me how he liked his eggs cooked, as if I hadn't known before. One evening, we walked by the river, the city lights reflecting on the water. He slipped his hand into mine carefully, almost nervously, like he was asking permission. I didn't pull away. "Feels familiar, doesn't it?" he asked softly. I squeezed his hand. Maybe. And for the first time, maybe didn't feel like a loss. Felt like a beginning. Months later, on a quiet summer night, I found myself sitting on the fire escape with him. The city hummed around us, alive and endless. He leaned his head on my shoulder, and I didn't move away. "Do you ever think it'll come back?" I asked. Daniel was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I don't need it to. We can make new memories." I turned my head, studying him in the dim glow of the streetlights. His eyes were tired but full of something steady, something that had carried us through hell. And in that moment, without memory, without certainty, I leaned in and kissed him. It wasn't recognition. It wasn't nostalgia. It was choice. And for the first time since the accident, it felt like mine. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.